What is up, everybody? Rob here, back with another episode of Wasting Wildcards here on Malta 5. And this week, I've got myself something pretty fun. I'm calling it Kanister Dredge because it was originated by Kanister, the MPL member, during one of the Fandom Legends tournaments. And it immediately caught my eye because it's a standard Phoenix deck, but also kind of a Dredge deck with your Creeping Chills and Narcomoebas. And basically the whole point is to just self-mill yourself, get value from your Creeping Chills, get your Phoenixes into the graveyard, get your Narcomoebas onto the battlefield for free, and then just play a bunch of your cheap instant sorceries to get your Phoenixes back and then bash in for the win. Pretty straightforward. Our sideboard plan, we have just a lot of counter spells, stuff to protect us from decks we need protecting from. Got an Ashiok, which isn't in the main deck, and even though it's kind of a mill deck, you don't want to... Actually, yeah, this isn't a mill deck, it's a self-mill deck. So although you can mill yourself and exile your opponent's graveyard, this is more tech against like the Golos decks and the decks that search their libraries. And then we have a Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, which is basically against the slow grindy decks. Our win condition essentially becomes fully self-milling ourselves, which actually comes out a lot. I've won a lot of really close games by milling myself and drawing a card. And yeah, it's fun stuff. So let's save and exit. Let's do a metagame challenge here. Go up against the people who are trying hard, you know? Play one, win one, lose one, see what happens. Yeah, I did one of these before. I got to 3 wins, but I just got, playing against Golos literally every single game. This deck is actually pretty good against Golos, as good as a deck can be, I'd say. But the decks that are really good against Golos are also very good against this deck. That being like the very aggressive Gruul deck is hard for us to kind of slow down and not just get completely run over. So here, Drowned Secrets is something you do want in your early hands, but having 1 land is not going to be ideal. So this is fine. We'll keep this. Radical Idea is good because you want it to kind of pitch Phoenixes you don't want. But in this hand, we just want those early kind of smooth our draws. Mission Briefing is great because it surveils and gets us a spell back. So you can both get your Phoenixes from the top of your library into your graveyard, and then it counts itself as an instant that will then help you get your Phoenixes back in the long term. All right, so this is some kind of mono red deck. It might be a little tricky. These decks tend to be pretty tough. And as we don't have any of our self-mill cards, okay, so maybe this is actually a Jeskai like Fires deck or something like that. We'll draw this because we can eventually get rid of it with a Radical Idea. So we have a pretty slow start here, which makes me a little nervous. Okay, Teamer, Elementals. All right. We might be okay here. They're going to get their value train running, but... Oh, man, we are not drawing the cards we want to be drawing. All right, so we want a 1... no. Like a 1 mana sorcery or something. That's not it. So we are playing 20 lands in this deck, and we are getting flooded as hell. Well, good God. So luckily, I mean, we're only going to hit for 4 here. But our complete lack of self-mill is pretty bad here. All right, we're pitching that, drawing this. Pick Opt. Take action, of course. Radical Idea, draw a card, play Opt. bottom that. So that should get our Phoenix back. Unfortunately, it's only one Phoenix. So I attacked there instead of blocked because they're all 1/1s. They're not going to attack our Risen Reef into this. That's a pretty good removal spell against me. So I've been tempted to add kind of like a cheap sweeper, like a Cry of the Carnarium type card. But we are literally only running 4 black sources in this entire deck. And that's a double black card. Oh my god, this is like an example of the worst draws to possibly get with this deck. Yeah, let's... Finally, we can mill ourselves a bit. All right, well, we got another Phoenix in there, so... Oh my god, the lands. This is insane. 9, not to mention 10. 10 lands. We've seen 10 lands. That's half of our lands. Oh, man. I mean, luckily these are all 1/1s, but if they draw their give all elementals +1/+1 card, it's going to get out of hand pretty quick. Or give them all +2/+0. That would do a lot of damage. You know, like 15 exactly. Okay, well. A couple unfortunate draws there. So, I honestly think the main deck is what we want against this opposing deck. I mean, I guess maybe Aether Gust over a Maximize Altitude and an Archamoeba, although we do want blockers. Mission Briefing, Surveils, maybe a Discovery Dispersal. Let's try this. I'm not sure this is accurate. Sideboarding with this deck is a bit tricky. All the counter spells don't actually have too many good matchups, it seems. I guess if the deck was made specifically for like the fandom metagame. Okay, so this is a lot better. We have a turn 1 Secret Keeper, so we can mill ourselves, followed by a turn 2 Drown Secrets, and then just start going off that way. So we're going to definitely keep this and hopefully have a much more powerful game. Target yourself. Ooh, right there. That's perfect. Turn 1, Lightning Helix to our opponent's face, and we have ourselves a Phoenix in the yard. Get the Drown Secrets in there. This card is pretty bonkers. All right, so our opponent also has a slow draw here, which is pretty great. Don't care. Gain that 3 life. All right, so we're going to go Discovery Dispersal. Try to surveil away some stuff. Got 2 Phoenixes. I think we'll draw the Opt. Next turn, hopefully we can get the Phoenixes back and start beating in. Got ourselves a nice little blocker here. Feeling a lot better than I did last game. Ooh, and they don't have a Risen Reef. Okay. So let's start with Mission Briefing. We want like a 1 mana spell. We're just going to pitch this. Go Opt. We're going to just pay 2 life and just double Opt here. Creeping Chill and Radical Idea. Pretty good hits. I don't want to draw this. All right, well, found all our phoenixes. Hit a Narcomoeba. Okay, so now you get to see the power of this. We're going to keep this on top. Oops. I always forget this card does not have defender. You know, most of your 0-4s are going to be defenders. So next turn we can pitch a Phoenix. Pitch a Phoenix. And if we draw a land, we can unsummon something and get all of our Phoenixes back. That is fine. All right, so I feel like we're in a pretty good spot right here. Again, I still feel okay. Crawl Harpooner, although temporarily very effective, not the best Arclight Phoenix answer. All right, and there is the land. So, Arclight Phoenix. It's a pretty silly turn we got going on right here. And we got ourselves an Narcomoeba. We can even unsummon our Secret Keeper just for funsies. That's all 4 of them. So, as you can see, that is the real power that this deck has. And I think we're just going to run it back. So our opponent, I'm not sure if they're playing like budget elementals or if they just haven't played any of their really high-powered stuff. Oh, this is tempting because we can potentially scry our way into what we want and we're on the draw, so I think we keep. But as you can see, the difference between self-mill draws and not self-mill draws are huge. So we want like a Secret Keeper or a Drowned. So we'll just Discovery Dispersal here. Get the Amoeba in the graveyard. Draw another Narcomoeba. Nothing like having 2 Narcomoebas in your hand. Nothing like having all of your like worst cards in your hand. All right, well, I'm going to just keep going. I'm going to hang on to the Ether Gust here. Try to tempo them out. At least keep them 1 turn away. Well, they've got plenty of mana. All right, so let's go. We can go like mission briefing into opt. All right, so we want to keep this on top. Do we want the Watery Grave so we can inevitably cast Creeping Chill? So we played this, we play opt, we draw this. And then we can start self-milling. I think we want to keep the... Nah, whatever, we'll just discard it. So we'll go... Or should we just Discovery again, maybe? Because we're not going to hit the 3 spells anyway, so I think we should play the more powerful of the draw spells here. All right, so we'll play this next turn. 1 drop into 2 drop. Unsummon is actually pretty powerful. No attacks. We want to block her back. So our opponent is playing like the 1-1 bonanza game right now. All right, so let's go Drown Secrets. Radical Idea. Mill. Is this a cast or enter the battlefield? Enter the battlefield. Okay, so let's pass. I don't feel great about this. We didn't get our self-mill going until way too late in the game, and we're also drawing into all of these spells that you do not want to be drawing. Our opponent is... Considering they're basically just playing like a pure value deck. So we're going to just unsummon now. Continue to slow them down. Okay, so let's see what we can do here. Radical Idea. Discarding a Phoenix. Milling ourselves. I want to play this to really start milling, but we're going to delay our Phoenixes at least one turn, which is not the most ideal. You know what? I'm just going to throw an Amoeba out here, save the Radical Idea in case we draw another Phoenix. Hold back to block. Yeah, so we got 2 Phoenixes here. All right, so giving their elementals +2/+0 is not a problem. All right, good thing we hung on to this. So let's go 1. How many cards? 20. So that'll bring us pretty low here. So we're going to have to pretty much win in the next couple turns, or we're going to mill ourselves. But we got another Amoeba. Ooh. That is nice. What do we got? 12 cards in there. Go down to 8. Go down to 8. All right. I don't want to push it too hard here. Just mill our opponent. So our opponent looks like they're just on some kind of like really budget. So the problem we have now is our ability to get our Phoenixes back with 8 cards in the deck. And I think a couple of them are Phoenixes. Luckily, we have a lot of life. So we're 2 turns away with Narcomoebas to win. Yep, nothing like the 1/1 flyer beatdown. How many Watery Graves do we have in our deck? There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, we can't even cast Creeping Chill. That's a bummer. Slows us down by a turn. Okay, so we need to draw some spells. And luckily our opponent, again, is not playing anything that seems crazy powerful. Like, I haven't seen any Cavaliers. I haven't seen any... I mean, other than Risen Reef, this is a pretty budget deck. All right, so that's 1. We gotta hang on to this. Two. As long as there's, if we can stay alive long enough, that's the card I was waiting for. Drawing cards, pumping stuff. All right, so they can start actually bashing in for a lot here if they don't continue to shock my stuff. Huh, that's interesting. Okay. So our opponent can plus Chandra, get really silly with it. I wonder if we aggressively milled our opponent, if we could have got them to just mill themselves. 26. We got 8 mil right here. That's not nearly enough. Oh man, I think we may have got a little too mill happy there. So 8, 12, 20, 23, 27, 28, 32, 36. Am I dead? Oh my good Christ. Oh boy. Okay, well. Yeah, so I learned something today. Don't go crazy on the self-mill there. You'll not have enough spells to get your Phoenixes back. All right, let's hit up the ladder. Yeah, I'm still learning this deck, and yeah. So if Field of the Dead gets banned, I'm curious if this deck would actually get worse or better. I think it may get worse because a lot of the aggro decks, the mono black, the Knights decks, the Golgari decks, the red decks, the Gruul decks are probably going to have more of a chance in the format, in which case against aggro, I mean, Creeping Chill and this is kind of literally all we have. I'm going to keep this hand, by the way. We got a lot of self-mill, Discovery to try to find something good. Creeping Chill is a terrible card to have in your hand, but everything else is so good. Yeah. Didn't hit anything that we wanted yet. All right, so speaking of Golos, looks like that's who we're up against. Oh my god. Why? I'll keep one of these. Okay, great. Once again, let us just, draw everything you want to mill and mill everything you want to draw. I guess we just played one. I don't want to play this yet because I want to get the Phoenixes back if possible as soon as possible. So next turn, I minimum have 2 spells I can cast, potentially more. Yep, so we're definitely up against Bant Golos or some other Bant ramp deck. They didn't have the turn 1 little sloth. But, all right, so let's start by Discovery Dispersal. Oh, that's a pretty good hit, I'd say. Yes, I would like to take action. This card is pretty nuts when it goes off. Feels like you're playing Modern. All right, and we're going to play Drown Secrets. The next turn, we can play these 2. Save on Summon. We've got 1 Phoenix in the yard. Realm Cloak Giant. I'm not that afraid of him. That's fine. You can take my 2 power off the board. All right, let's go. Radical Idea. We really want to hit our lands here, get our spells going. Radical Idea. And unfortunately, we can't unsummon nothing, so... There's the field. Here comes a bunch of zombies, probably. Okay, not a ton of zombies, but, you know, a couple zombies. Only 1 Phoenix, eh? All right, well, let's start doing this. Just get some more stuff in the yard, see what we have to work with. Nothing. Radical Idea. I want this land. That's supposed to be in the graveyard. I almost wonder if playing a couple like steam vents in this deck, kind of like how we're playing 4 Watery Graves, if just playing 4 steam vents would be helpful. Although I wonder if it's just like a life total problem at that point. All right, so Radical Idea. Radical Idea. Opt. Well, I'll draw that. Keep these back. They're going to eat 1, but I'm not worried about it. So barring a lot of removal, I don't give a shit about their zombies. Don't care about their big giant, plural. So you can see this game actually does have a little bit of play against Golos. This little dick is annoying because he's got friggin' reach. So if we can get an additional Phoenix back, I can mission briefing for an unsummon. What do we got in our deck? 6 cards. We only have 6 cards in our deck. Yeah, we're not going to mill ourselves out here. All right, so we're definitely surveilling that to the bottom, keeping this on top because I don't want to mill myself. Get an unsummon. Yes, I will take action. And I think we're going to get there. Mission briefing again. And they saw the writing on the walls. So I never saw Golos, so I mean... So this is actually a matchup where we want Jace and we want Ashiok. Because as you can see, I almost milled myself, so we want the Jace, Ashiok because they can't search, and Unsummon, although it kills zombies, not great, and it won us that game. Gotta look past it. Maximize altitude. It's a 1-drop. Narcomoebas. Don't need to block much. Let's go down 2 Narcomoebas. Let's try this. Hopefully we can get a Jace win. That always feels good. Yeah. This is a lot better. So let's put... I guess for now we'll put the Jace. It's expensive. All right, no turn 1 play, which is always good. Turn 1 Creeping Chill to get the party started. Great. All right, well, got to start firing off these radical ideas because I got to get these phoenixes into the graveyard. Can potentially get our turn 3 Ashiok out, which will be pretty great. I mean, they can already... Okay, that's actually pretty good for us. So we're going to start Ashioking ourselves. So we can go 1-2, get both phoenixes into the graveyard now. This guy, this goddamn guy. All right. I guess we start by milling ourselves. Do we just try to get more self-mill online, or do we just get the phoenixes in the graveyard? If we draw land here, that's good. I think I just get this now. Because next turn I can go do, and hopefully a 3rd spell. Get multiple phoenixes back. So Kenrith is scary. The main reason they're playing this is because they have all the mana. It can give all their zombies haste, which is terrifying. They put a +1/+1 counter on something not super relevant. The gain 5 light ends up being very relevant. Drawing a card is always relevant, and all kinds of stuff. They don't have the red mana, which is pretty good. So they can't trample over to our Ashiok. All right, so I think what we do is 1. Yeah, okay, we can do this. Another land is pretty good. Let's Ashiok ourselves. Let's go deep. Let's Merfolk Secret Keeper ourselves. Go deeper. Ideally here, we're going to get as many Phoenixes into this graveyard as possible. If we hit a Creeping Chill and a Phoenix, that'd be rad. I think a lot of our alternate win cons are now in the graveyard. All right, so 1, 2. Two of our Jaces are in the graveyard. So here's where the 5 life starts becoming very annoying. All right. That actually may not be that bad for us. So we have 18 cards in our deck. The card on the bottom of the library is what we need to win. Let's see. We have no way to draw stuff here. Well, there goes all those cards. Cool. Let's see. Do we have a 1 Watery Grave, 2 Watery Graves, 3? Okay, so we have 1 way to cast our junk in here still. All right, so we're going to have to hang on to our spells here. Don't want to self-mill ourselves anymore. 7/7 Giants, okay, I suppose. That's a pretty good land. One, two. Let's do this. Actually, I guess it doesn't matter. I guess technically you probably want this one. Their big silly giant doesn't have trample. And their Kenrith is in the graveyard. Or in the exile. So we want to hang on to this because their fabled passages won't do anything. All right, so 1. Two. Three. For fun. Let's do it. Don't have to worry about settle the wreckage. Milled some pretty good cards. Milled some pretty good cards. Yeah, that's all 4. And that's a scoop. All right, so I never saw Golos, so I think that was a Bant ramp deck, which is still probably one of the top tier decks. But yeah, you can really see the power of the Arclight Phoenixes still doing work in Standard, which makes me happy. We lost to like a $7 Elementals deck in the Standard Metagame Challenge, but you can't win them all. I'm glad you got to see the deck performing pretty well in that last game, which is cool. So yeah, definitely a fun deck. Definitely one that I think is pretty metagame specific, but it's capable of some very silly things. I mean, theoretically, you could cast 4 Creeping Chills in the first turn if you mill 4 in a row. I've had 2 Creeping Chills and a Narcomoeba on turn 1. That's a pretty silly start. You can get Arclight Phoenixes out on like turn 4 or 5 pretty easy and just bashing for the win out of nowhere. So it's a very fun deck. Kanister's version didn't have a Castle Vantress in it, but it's free basically. And you can see in that last game that Scry was super helpful. So I definitely recommend that. I think the sideboard needs some work. Ashiok and Jace are the 2 that I always go to, but I don't know how I feel about just counter spells as your backup plan. Like against some of the aggro decks, I wonder if just like something like a Terramander that you can probably turn on pretty quickly, or Dazzling Lights, or something that just keeps you alive more than counter spells. But I'm not in the MPL, so what do I know? But thank you guys for watching. This has been Rob with Multi5.